So this took a little longer than expected to write. I thought it would be a quick review, but slowly it took a week more to deeper analyze the bigger picture. Let's get started. I'm going to skip the first chapter for later, but the second part is really cute, closer look on the relationship between Nazuna and Ko. Ko just covers his neck and Nazuna is head over heels for him. The message Nazuna brings up is that things are sexier when hidden, sort of like the vampire worlds to humans. The idea of becoming a vampire seems sexy to Ko. He wants that life because he doesn't want what growing up has to offer. Even when exploring the night for the first time, getting to see the neighborhood in different aspects was attractive to him. There's also the parallel of them always going out somewhere, but always only being around each other. This time, the internet cafe, again feeling very indie movie vibe, with them sharing a small little space with each other. The fact that we learn about Nazuna's actual kinks is both amusing and cute, since it clearly is directed about her feelings towards Ko and not just in general. As the creator admits, the detective arc is pretty much just because he wanted to draw them in maid outfits, so kind of filler. It's not bad, and does show a comfortable nature Ko is around vampires and older people. His problem never was social interaction. His problem was that he got tired of the social hierarchy system and abandoned any normalcy in life. And although his first reaction is always to fly away, when put into situation of detective work, he has fun and ends up solving pretty easily, considering he was a top kid in school, both social ladder and smarts. And like last volume, we got to spend time with another new vampire. We then got two chapters revolving around Ko's history, gives good inner conflict substance to the story. While the vampire world drives the plot for the most part, what we are typically used to in vampire stories is reasons why not to become a vampire. For this story, it's less about humanity and more about a closer basis of that, losing who you were. We got two different perspectives of the same understanding, Ko's teacher and Akira. Ko's teacher always knew that he was putting up an act and to be what was considered the role model student, while Akira didn't talk much to him anymore and only knew that he was becoming socially popular. But they both felt relieved when Ko showed that he wasn't that kind of guy at all. The teacher because it meant Ko wasn't pushing or straining himself anymore, and for Akira it's because she felt that maybe they were similar in that aspect. She felt the guilt for causing the conflict and wants to bring him back to normalcy, while the teacher offers an olive branch and not telling Ko, but also offers him to help him if he chooses to come back. These chapters also center around the burdens of living up to the standards your society has towards you. And then our second detective story, Unknowingly. Ko talks to a private detective who's in search of Mr. Psycho himself, Aki. Aki is currently our only blueprint into understanding the transformation from human to vampire. We've seen the pain of love, the insanity it can drive through you, and now what sort of change becoming a vampire can do to you. Aki acts more cool-headed, but his motives always feel sketchy. He told Ko from the jump that looking at his neck is stimulating. His eyes don't seem honest anymore. There's still a rule that if humans find about vampires, they have to turn or die in a year, so that could be why Aki no longer hangs around his friends or family anymore. Could also be why most vampires are either alone like Nazuna or in packs, just because those are the only two options when you aren't hunting or turning. He also seems fine, which means he must be drinking someone's blood, even though he loves Siri and hangs out with her. Otherwise, he'll turn into the vampire teacher. Which brings us to our final arc of the volume. The kids adventuring around the school at night to uncover the school's urban mysteries. It's cute because it shows how much they changed for these three characters, even trying to do this. I originally wondered if Mahiru was thinking that maybe he was going to die soon or become a vampire soon, and this was his final way of getting to spend with his friends before starting a new life, again turning into a vampire as in a farewell before death. But instead, we get someone else's final farewells, a teacher who's been a vampire for 10 years. We then get loads of answers that do nothing but fill us with more questions. He claims he's been tricked by becoming a vampire, meaning he met a girl vampire who he fell in love with, and then she drank from him, ending up turning him into a vampire. Now here's where we can play the assumption game. When drinking the blood of her prey, Nazuna typically puts them into a sleep-like trance, relaxing them into utter bliss before snacking on them. As a professional cuddler when looking for new prey, because as we see, vampires crave blood. Aki stated earlier that the mere sight of Ko's neck had him on edge. We know the rules that you have a year to turn someone after starting to bite in them. Typically girls like Siri would lure them for a while, snack on them, and then hightail it when they start becoming obsessed. She never killed. And so it's safe to say that she had her own way of also sucking their blood without them noticing that she was a vampire. Although she never snacked on Aki because that would have turned him and she always just wanted him as a friend. But as the detective stated, There are many more kinds of vampires we have yet to encounter. Again, wondering if there's a difference in what happens to the male vampires and the female vampires? Could it be that the teacher didn't want to become a vampire, so he banished himself from the world only to come back that very night to remember who he once was before dying? Was he so bloodlusted, like how they are in Twilight, that the mere sight and smell of blood, that newborns or maybe certain vampires just go bloodlust crazy? One thing we do learn that was only assumed originally is that sunlight does indeed kill vampires in this world. So there's that tearful possible moment in future volumes if this series decides to go that route. I'm honestly surprised Nazuna didn't step in, considering she always keeps a watchful eye over Ko. It's never mentioned where she was or why he was free that night. It could have been maybe she was working that night at the cafe, or she could have been avoiding stopping it because maybe there's a possibility she's the one who turned him. Even for characters like Nazuna and Ciri who seem to try to play it safe when picking their prey, not wanting to turn people, there's always that slip up. It'd be interesting to find out if they try to, at least with a twist sort of way, find out who might have turned the teacher in the first place. Although I think this was more so just a way to introduce us to the darker side of the vampire world and lifestyle, at least for now. Anyway, this was a nice volume, way more character heavy on this one, aside from maybe the Maid Cafe arc. But I enjoyed that for personal reasons of getting to see Nazuna and Ko have fun together. The final extra chapter shows the closeness again between Ko and Nazuna, so we've been getting a lot of cute moments with them in this volume, which kind of makes me fear what they're maybe trying to set up in the next volume. I'm assuming it's going to go to a darker volume. We'll finally enter the part of the vampire story that I figured this series was maybe trying to rebel against, but it's just too good to pass up, so I understand. We got the detective keeping a sharp eye on Ko, we got Ko finding out about the dark realities of the vampire world, and we still have the best friend Mahiro, whose lifespan is possibly nearing its end one way or another. I personally still think we're going to get a fight between Nazuna and Mahiro's vampire girlfriend. I literally just finished writing down this review as I record it, so I don't have any real questions to ask for this review. Just, what are you looking forward to next volume? Where do you see this series possibly going? And do you hope it only veers dramatically for only 1 or 2 volumes before going back to its indie punk fashion? Oh, and also, which of the other vampire girls is your favorite? Anyway, I'm exhausted and still want to write one more review before Thanksgiving. I got an Instagram that shows everything I've been collecting and reading up to date. A Twitch channel to hopefully start streaming. I don't game really, but it's for I want to be able to chat about manga eventually. And I got a Discord for people who been collecting like me and want someplace to be able to chat with people, sort of like a forum for manga. It's called Manga Club Monday. And also I'm trying to come up with a strategy to be reviewing / recommending new series that I've been enjoying. So as always, thank you and go read a book.